Just three ordinary people from the hills of eastern Kentucky. We don't have all the answers, but we do have all the questions. This is the Just Add Bourbon podcast with Jimmy Don, JD, and Don. Welcome, everybody, to the Just Add Bourbon podcast. I'm Jimmy Don Kerr.
I'm Dawn Giesica.
And I'm J.D. Dim.
And it is another beautiful Sunday evening here in the hills of eastern Kentucky. And we appreciate each and every one of you taking a little bit of time out of your day to come hang out with us for the next hour. JD is not having a beautiful day in the hills of eastern Kentucky. JD is stuck on the road, and we're going to let him explain that here in just a second. But as we always start off our show, Dawn, how was your week?
Oh, good. We're in Knoxville still. Well, we came back this weekend preparing for school. So the baby starts school this week, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I had another week of putting people in debt and, doing my thing, hustle and bustle, running the kids around and all that good stuff. And so it's pretty much a normal week for me. But our boy JD had a comedy show this weekend, and he is presently at a gas station somewhere in Tennessee. God bless him. So JD, let's talk about first. I want to know how your comedy gig went. Talk to people about what you got into and what you were doing.
So last week, Amanda hit me up. My girlfriend. She's like, "Hey, you want to come down here this weekend?" We had plans to be together last weekend. Didn't work out. Put my vehicle in the shop. Got it out Friday. Drove to Tennessee. Hang out with her. She had me set up for a show down there, so I went and performed. Absolutely killed it. It was really cool. Like, I did so good, man. Actually, like other comics, that were coming up after me, was talking about how funny I was and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, awesome!
Well, yay!
So that was a cool experience. We hung out all weekend. We cut some weeds. We did some yard work. We made dinner. We hung out. We watched. What did we watch? Oh, we watched some the immigration show that comes on National Geographic. I can't remember. And I fell asleep about 10 o'clock last night, and I pretty much died for about 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I got today and I come home, man, and my car is down again, bro. I want to take that thing out and shoot, I guess. It's like a sick horse. And so I'm in Norton, Virginia right now, actually. I'm in Tennessee.
Oh, okay. So God bless you anyway, being in Virginia. I know how that is. Being broke down.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, JD is dedicated to the Just Add Bourbon podcast, and he'll show up anywhere, anytime, even from a gas station in Norton, Virginia. So let's jump into this thing. Guys, the talk of the week has been surrounding, vaccinations, mask mandates, Delta variant spiking all over the country. And look, people are like really upset, like on both sides of the aisle. Like people are really mad at each other. And so, JD, let's start with vaccines first and kind of give your take, because the way we're going to do this is JD and Don are going to kind of give you their take on the vaccines and what they think. And then I'm going to go through some questions with them as somebody who was skeptical of the vaccine, but whose mind is changing somewhat. And so, JD, let's start with you. Kind of give your breakdown on the vaccine situation at this point.
I feel my position hasn't changed at all, really. I feel like I want to protect my community. I want to protect my neighbor. I want to protect my parents. I want to protect, people who are around me. And the best way I can do that is a vaccination. There's other things I can do to, on top of that, but the very best thing I can do is this vaccination. And so that's basically where I'm standing on it. I'm not crazy about it being mandated, but I'm really frustrated that people aren't choosing to do that. And so, and also, people should have a right, but I feel like, I hate to have force people to do the right thing. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Okay, Don, what about you?
Where I stand. My position hasn't changed. My whole family is vaccinated except for my 12-year-old. I think everybody needs at least one dose. That way your body gets some antibodies on, unless you have natural antibodies. I do think that we need to recognize natural antibodies for what they are. As far as masking goes, we never stopped. I mean, my family calls me Democrat all the time because of it, but we never stopped masking. We've masked indoors for over a year and a half now. We try to do everything outdoors. It's not because I'm petrified of COVID. I know the survival rating. I get that. I also know the rate of long hauler, and I also know what it does to our hospitals when I catch it and then I spread it to other people. So really for me, it's just trying to do the right thing for the community as a whole. Here in Knoxville and in Eastern Kentucky, elective surgeries have some of them have stopped. Most of them are on wait lists now because the healthcare system is being strained. It's August, people. It's hot weather. If you're try to congregate outside. To me, if you are 12 and above and you have to wear a mask at school, I have no problem with that. Elementary, we still don't have data on elementary schools. So I'm still not for that. I don't think that young kids should have to wear a mask, but that's with COVID-19 original strain that hit us. We'll have to see what Delta does. But right now, we don't have the data to back up elementary, in my opinion, wearing masks. That doesn't mean that you don't have the right to wear it. If you want to send your kid in a mask, you can. We just don't have the data yet. Delta is giving us a lot of data really fast. So the pandemic did change. This is not a Democrat stance. I'm a GOP libertarian girl. It is about a virus that's finding more hosts and mutating on us. I think it's going to mutate. We're going to have tons of variants keep coming. I don't know if we're going to be able to vaccinate our way out of it. I don't know if I'm bought into that. But one thing I've bought into is mitigation. And we should all worry about if we have a elderly person in our family that's sick, if we have a kid in our neighborhood that has cancer, those are the people who I mask for.
All right, so let's start with this comment right here because I think this is the crux of the debate for most people. And, Rundle says, he said force people to do the right thing. It being the right thing for me is my decision, not what other people think I should be doing. Now, for me, I was never anti-vax, right? If you felt like you wanted to get vaccinated and that made you feel more comfortable with this pandemic, then that's what I want you to do. Sure. I don't have a problem with that. For me, it has been about information. And like I told JD this a long time ago, I don't want to be the first person, but I don't want to be the last.
Right.
And for me, it was about information and finding out data because this is I saw a Twitter clip today of all these Democrats, like it was Cuomo and Biden and the VP. All saying, look, I wouldn't take this vaccine. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that because Trump was pushing it. I think for most of us, it was, or for the people like me anyway, it has nothing to do with Trump. I can care less what Trump says. For me, it's a personal choice. So let's start there as far as it being a personal choice for your health. And I get the aspect of what JD's saying is, hey, I'm doing this. Okay, I'm doing this for other people. I'm doing this because I want to protect other people. And I understand that.
Right.
But at the same time, I still think it's my personal choice what I do as far as it comes to the vaccine. So let's start there, Dawn, with you about personal choice.
People do have a personal choice on what goes into their body. We have a personal choice for how we run our lives all the time. I don't get out and get drunk and then drive down the road in order because I want to keep everybody else safe as well as myself. That's how I do. That's how I think about the vaccine. Not only is it giving me some protection, but I'm hoping that it helps other people around me. I don't think that mandates are going to go very well. We already see how that's happening. However, if Delta keeps steamrolling hospitals, I also don't think we're going to have mandates. We're getting more and more people vaccinated now than we've ever had before in the pandemic. Delta has everybody's attention because COVID-19 wild original variant did not infect kids. Delta is infecting kids. It's not killing them. It's not making them severely ill, but it's pretty callous to say that we don't care about what little bit of kids will die of Delta. So for me, mandating it, I don't think we'll get there. I think we'll get there some with private companies and things like that. But I think as a whole, I think people are going to ultimately do the right thing. They're either going to vaccinate or they're going to mask or they're going to social distance. They're going to do something. Delta's getting everybody's attention.
JD, what do you think about personal choice in the vaccination?
So I was actually going to use another driving scenario. Don used the drinking and driving, but I don't understand why this vaccine has been such a big deal. It's not like it hasn't been tested. It's been tested. This is research that's been built on years and years of science. I just don't understand why it become politicized by either side, which in both sides are absolutely guilty of it. And if you can't see that, then we shouldn't be talking about it because it's absolutely been politicized. Dawn's already said, her family's calling her a Democrat because she's trying to protect people in the community. It's crazy. The Democrats, like you said, Jimmy, Dawn, were up against it because Trump said it was a good thing. It's crazy. But when you come to the red light, we all decided as a whole that we was all going to stop at the red light.
Right.
And that serves everybody. It don't just serve you. It keeps us all safe on the road. We decided that the 55-mile speed limit was the right thing to do with something. If you break that law, you got to pay a ticket for it.
Right.
I'm like Don. I don't think it's going. I hope mandates don't come. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
But something's going to have to be done because these hospitals are filling up quickly. Middle Tennessee, there ain't a bed available nowhere. And Don, I'm sure
that's right. There's not. We're really on fire down here.
So, what's going to have to happen? I'm going to push a question back to you, Jimmy. Don, people that continue to be unvaccinated, that continue to have to go to the hospital to get care, do we come to a point where the hospitals start turning those people away?
I think it will, and I think you're seeing that right now. I think you're seeing that right now in a lot of places where, like Don said, elective surgeries, you push those back, fine. Not a big deal. To me,
electives are not what people think. I promise you, electives are not getting a boob job or a nose job. Electives are, for instance, we've killed screening colonoscopies and screening tests. We've already backed them up. That means people who may have colon cancer, breast cancer, things of those nature are going to be backed up. That's scary. Tonsillectomies, gallbladders, appendixes, you name it. Those are time-sensitive, medically necessary. We just happen to call them electives, and I don't know why we call them electives, but we do.
That makes sense.
There's a difference between cosmetic and elective. Elective is covered by your insurance. You need it. We want to give it to you, but we can't, because if we give you a surgery right now and we think that you will not do well and you might need to go upstairs to the med-surg floor, we don't have room for you. We sure don't have room for you in the ICUs. And
that's a great distinction to make, though, because for me, elective surgery means something that you choose to do. It's elective.
Yeah.
You would choose to do that. So I think that's a great point. But go ahead, JD.
My question really is at the heart of, when the unvaccinated people go into the hospital, are we going to get to a point where the hospitals are going to start refusing to take them?
Absolutely.
I hope not, but that's,
I could tell you somebody who has done healthcare for 20 plus years. That's me. My husband's in there and he's a provider. That blows my mind that people are even throwing that out there. That is not what our education is. It's not what our training is. It's not what our passion is. Right. We take care of gay, black, white, Muslim. I don't care who you are. If you're sick, we're going to be there. The problem is there's not enough. We've got staff burning out. Todd is the happiest guy. You guys know that. It's annoying how happy my husband is. I mean, really, it gets on my nerves, especially when I'm PMS and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? And he had 2 days last week to where he was stressed out. He came home and he went straight to bed. 3 people died on him in one shift, and none of them were above the age 30, all unvaccinated.
All right, so let's kind of talk through just my progression, because you guys have always had that stance, and I've never changed my stance as far as whether you should get vaccinated or not. My stance was always you just had the choice. But let's talk about me personally, because this is our show, and let's talk through what we're doing. So 2 things happened. One, I'm going to this Louder Than Life concert in Louisville in September, and they have made the rule where you either show a vaccine card or you have to show a negative test. Well, I'm going to be there for 4 days. So I could go the day that I went, and that would be good. It has to be within 48 hours of that day. So at some point, I'm going to have to go and get another negative test if I don't get vaccinated. Right. There's a pretty good chance that we're headed that way with Kentucky football. So I think that was the thing that Amy and I said, okay, look, it is going to be a hassle for me. to have to do that. My life is incredibly busy. So let's see. At some point, I'm going to have to do this. So, all right, let's sit down. Let's start looking at the data and let's see where we're at. Okay, so I am convinced at this point that if you are older, let's say 65 and up, just to give it a number, that you should go get vaccinated. I think there is plenty of data to suggest that you, whether it be the original strain or this Delta strain, are very susceptible to it. And it may not prevent you from getting it, but it will prevent you from possibly dying. There is some protection of you having to go to the hospital and getting overly sick. Let's go down to my age group, which is 45, right? I'm 46 years old. There is good data that suggests that somebody in my age range, whether it be Delta or the original strain, there's good data that suggests that it would give me some protection. It doesn't mean that I won't get it, but it does mean that I will be protected and the chances of me dying are very, very low. All right. So, and if you're overweight, which I am, if you are sick in any way,
Diabetic.
Diabetic. I'm not diabetic. I do have a little high blood pressure. I take a little high blood pressure pill. But as far as I'm in pretty good health overall. And that's why I always felt like, okay, I get a checkup every year. I'm in pretty good health. But something like this could get a hold of me and hurt me. And I don't want to do that to my wife and kids. I want to live. I want to see them grow up. I want to do all that. So that data is there. Now, once you get below 45, the data is less clear, like 25 to 45. It's less clear, but still probably a good idea. 25 and below is where I'm still not convinced. And that'll go into our school talk here in just a little bit. So, JD, kind of walk me through like what you think about my thought process. The data is there now, and like I said, not taking what you think personally, just as far as it is what you think personally, but you know what I'm saying. Just as far as the thought process for me, that has how it has gone. And so Amy and I have started having the conversations, doing the research, making sure that we think we're doing the right thing, what shot. I even reached out to the two of you the other day and said, hey, like, what do you think about which shot? So I'm going to let you go first and kind of respond to my thought process.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of good stuff there, man. And, you seem very logical in what you're saying, especially 65 plus age group, the 45 and up age group. The only pushback I would give you is that the 25 younger age group. And the only reason I would see the reason for them to get the shot is the same reason somebody who's healthy 40-year-old would get it. And that's only to protect other people. If all these people were unvaccinated running around and they have this virus, even though they're asymptomatic, they can still spread it to other people, even if you do have the virus or the vaccine. So that would be why I would want everybody, even in that age group, to go ahead and get the vaccine. That would be my pushback, because unless we eradicate this thing, you've seen how quickly this thing spread from China to Germany to here, and it was like wildfire, and it's going to do it again. So people skipping out on vaccines, I think we're just better off if everybody gets on board with it.
Okay. All right, Don, kind of go through my thought process there as far as my thought process, but also kind of what JD said in that age range that he was talking about with the 25 and up age range. Right. Kind of talk through that.
Well, like you, Jimmy Don, I'm a numbers person, because it's really, really hard for anybody. Well, you just can't argue with numbers. So I agree with you on the age categories. Where I'm going to give a little bit, I guess, of pushback is those numbers are based on COVID-19 wild variant. Delta has only been here about 6 weeks. We don't have a ton of data, but now we're getting it and it's starting to shift. I had no intention on getting any of my teenagers vaccinated against COVID-19 until Delta arrived. When Delta arrived, then the next thing you know, I've got them all in line with the exception of my 12-year-old, and she'll get her vaccine just as soon as she can. But right now, the state of Tennessee, we have to have certain types of 7th grade boosters. And when we get those boosters, you can't get your COVID vaccine in a window near those other vaccines. So I'm stuck. My point is, I was adamant that she would never get the COVID vaccine, not anytime soon anyway. Delta has changed my mind. I don't like seeing my kids sick. I don't like seeing anybody's kids sick. It scares me to death. When my girls get the least little thing, I sit up all night. I watch them breathe. I do the whole kit and caboodle, right? When it comes to me thinking about them getting sick, I will vaccinate. That way I have peace of mind. That way, if they get sick and we end up in the hospital and something bad was to happen, I know I did everything that I could possibly do. Right now, parents aren't looking at it that way, but they're starting to. Don't base everything on COVID-19 wild variant. That was so 2020. This is 2021 with Delta, and Delta is a bad ass. It doesn't seem to make you more severely sick, but it makes you sicker quicker.
So, JD,
Mom,
so
JD,
JD,
say something.
Like a lot of people push back, like we've seen even a lot of people here locally where we live really, really push back on, getting about the choice aspect of it. And I understand what you're saying as far as worrying about other people in the community. I get that. Like I don't push back against that at all. What do you say to those people who, just from your standpoint, because none of us are doctors, Don is in the medical field, but JD and I aren't doctors or in the medical field. But what do you say to those people? I mean, we have pastors of churches. We have a lot of different people that are really kind of pushing back on, hey, this is my choice. Don't force this upon me. Like, what do you, again, kind of what do you say to those people?
I struggle with it, man. It really upsets me. I really probably let my emotion get the best of me at times, especially when I get on Facebook and I get fired up. But it bothers me to see people who are supposed to be Christians and supposed to be loving your neighbor and nourishing and taking care of your neighbor, and to not want to protect them, not want to do the things that make them protected against this virus. If my neighbor was starving to death and I had a cabinet full of food and I let my neighbor die from starvation, I'm not much of a Christian. And if there's a virus out there that can take these people's lives, take my neighbor's lives, shut down my communities, restaurants, and all these other things. And if I don't do the small, if I'm not willing to wear a mask or get a shot to protect those people, then I don't want to hear about your religion.
Well, let me ask you both this question, because this is something I hear a lot, and even myself, that I have thought at times, is the way that this was sold to the American public in the beginning was that if you get this vaccine, it will take care of COVID. That's the way that it was sold, is it will take care of COVID. You're not going to have to mask up. You're not going to have to do those things. And as time has gone on, we have learned that is not the case. You can still transmit it. You can still get it. And so do we feel like it's science, and so I try to be reasonable about it in that things change with science. That's kind of the process. It goes through changes, and you make statements and decisions based on data. And so do you feel like there's a reason, Don, I'll start with you on this. Do you feel like there's a reason that people are pissed or feel like they've been lied to because they were told that this vaccine was the end-all, be-all?
Look, I totally agree. So many confusing messages. And in order for anybody to be able to wade through this, you have to spend countless of hours of research and reading and studying all of these things with COVID. The government has been a complete failure on trying to get data out. The CDC, feds, local, everybody. And then we politicized it. I have no idea why people cannot look at things on their own. I don't need Governor Beshear or Governor Lee or anybody to tell me to mask. I'm smart enough to look at data and to read for myself and go, you know what? I think I'm going to tell my kids I want them to mask when they go indoors. You know what? I didn't think that we would take the vaccine for COVID-19. And by the way, the vaccine did stop COVID-19 pretty much in its tracks until Delta came. I don't know why people won't look at that. Just look at that. And when it comes to religion, I want to make it very clear. There is one Jesus Christ. One, and he has not returned yet. So if you have a pastor or you have preachers or anybody like that, they're telling you that this vaccine is the mark of the beast and that you need, and that masks are the mark of the beast, and that all of these things that we're trying to do to keep you alive, I need you to go home and pray and think about what you're being told. Don't listen to people who have this influence over you unless they have data to prove it. Do people have a personal choice? You better believe it. If you don't want your kid to go to school in a mask, then so be it. Don't do it.
And you know, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, I'm never done.
All thing I
I'm a
was going to
girl.
add was that. What'd you say? What'd you say?
She said she's never done.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm a girl.
I was like, I was supposed to respond to all these points. Don makes like, Don, quick, give me 6 paragraphs to respond.
I can nail this COVID thing.
You know, I mean, the only thing I would add to that is like, I think some of these preachers or pastors or church members, they forget about being a Christian and pastors and preachers first. They're not Republicans first. They're not Democrats first. Mm-hmm. They better be Christians first. And doing, I mean, I really believe that Jesus would be wearing his mask, getting a shot, and trying to protect people, not giving lip service.
Jesus spent a lot of time healing people. He did. He spent a lot of time healing people. I don't even know why we're throwing religion in to a pandemic, but you know, that's what happens in the history of humans, right? We can figure out ways to really F things up when it's already a cluster.
And Don, more to your point that you was just getting about people reading for themselves. I think the problem is there's so many opportunists on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, both sides. Yeah, I agree.
You both know I'll read stuff that may totally disagree with what I believe, and I'll change what I believe. Jimmy Don, I sent you a really good article the other day that you read. It didn't lean left. It was
a good article.
It was just the facts.
Yeah.
People are lazy, though. They don't want that. They're going to plop down on the couch in front of this news anchor because he says all the things I like. But guess what? That news anchor is going to go get the vaccine. He's going to go wear his mask, and then he's going to tell you should. And people are so naive and so lazy, they won't seek out the information. And it's there. It's easy to see.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm getting fired up.
Hey, Don, I want to ask you this question, Don, because I've heard a lot of comparison. Like, you kind of look at these other countries who may be a little ahead of us. A lot of people comparing and looking at Israel. But I want to know, too, and really from the both of you, like, all right, so Delta is kicking out now, right? So it's really kicking into high gear. Yeah. And do you think we're overreacting at all to, like there's a bunch of cases right now, and it was kind of the same way with the original strain where you had this major kick up, then it flatlined, and then it went down. And a lot of that may have had to do with masking and social distancing and shutting things down. Do you think that we're overreacting just a little bit, and should we wait a few more weeks to see more data?
No. Okay. We're not overreacting. If you guys would just try to walk into a hospital right now, any hospital, and remember, everybody who gets sick goes to the hospital. Walk into the hospitals. It's not just COVID patients. You may only have 25 COVID patients, right? That's not a large number. It is a large number when you only have X amount of beds and you have one virus taking up 25 of those beds in summertime. So just wait until schools get going and everybody starts co-mingling, and you have all these kids that don't want to wear masks because mommy and daddy have told them that the government's, taking their freedom away. Let me tell you, I would rather wear a mask than a bra any day. I don't get the big deal. I really don't. I don't care what my family, what my loved ones, what my friends think of me. I do what I need to do to protect my family, and I implore everybody to do the same. Don't worry about what your preacher's saying. Don't worry about what your best friend's saying. Look at the data for yourself. Look at your child. Look at your husband. Look at your wife. Do they have any type of comorbidity? Check it. Do they have, are they going to go to in-person school? Check it. What's your vaccination rate in your region? Check it. What your hospitals look like. And I can tell you, Pikeville, Paulby Hall, Three Rivers, all of them are already starting to scale back on electives. Ashland, all of them are. Huntington, Knoxville, everywhere. We're all getting pummeled. Check, check, check. If that does not get you to think about at least putting a mask on, then I don't know what else is going to get you. It's not just about COVID. It's heart attack, it's stroke, it's pregnancy, it's car wrecks, it's motorcycle wrecks, it's overdoses. All those people are going to die because we don't have enough people to take care of them. Point blank, hard facts.
And you know what's really frustrating is, like, you know, my mom went to she had a doctor's appointment earlier this week, and she goes, and the doctor sits down and tells her, says, I have a 26-year-old woman upstairs who can't breathe. And she's going to live, but she's got Delta, but she's going to have lung problems the rest of her life.
That's a 5%. 5%. You got a 5% chance of coming down with something. Does it sound like a ton? Honey, it's a ton. And then you've got 70% chance of being a long hauler. Either your smell, your taste, you're going to have GI problems, something's coming, dizziness, something's coming at you.
So the whole point is, it's not about death rate all the time. Sometimes
that's right.
Your what do we call it? Your how well you live your life has a lot to do with it. What we call it?
Like personal health, or like I look at it as like unintended consequences. It's the things that you don't think are going to happen but happen.
Right. And I'm talking about how how satisfied you are with your life, man. You know, if you're having to pull around the oxygen machine,
quality of life,
the rest of your life after being 26 years old, you know, that's not the fun. That's not. Nobody wants that. And then people trying to say, yo, Andy Bashir, and act like he's Hitler because he wants us to wear a mask. Guys, quit being so silly. Quit being propaganda. Quit being stupid. Because you want your kid to wear a mask at the high school.
And quality of life. Yeah, quality of life is the word that you're looking for.
Right.
Yeah, they're hitting it up here in the thing. All right, so I want to move this discussion. It's around the same topic, but I want to move it to this actual mask mandate because people are losing their mind. And, you know, and I want to make it clear, too, like last week, you know, me and JD were really going at it about this, like these employers having to make or making people get vaccinated. And I still don't agree with that at all. Like I believe in choice, and I don't think that people should be mad. But I like what Don said was, look at everything that's around you. And that's one of the things that's really kind of came to me. Delta is different than the original strain. I still don't believe you should be made to do anything. But I do agree that businesses have the ability to do what they want to do. It's private business. They have the ability to do so. And I do agree with that. But I also agree with the ability of the person who's being made to have the right to sue whoever, and because their employer is telling them what to do. So I want to make that clear. My mind is changing as far as my personal, what I'm going to do, what me and my family are going to do. My mind is changing, but the right to choose, I still believe in 100%. So, and that gets us to the mask mandate. And I mean, look, do I like wearing a mask? No. And JD will tell you, I will just not go in anywhere. Like I just won't go, you know, because I don't like wearing a mask.
Right.
I don't know anybody that's like, man, this shit is fun.
Yeah, I like what Amanda says right here. And I think this is 100% the truth. I will do whatever it takes so that my children can go to in-person school. And I agree with that 100%. Here's why. My oldest daughter, wants to be a doctor, and she wants to go to Vanderbilt. Okay?
Yay!
Vanderbilt is where she wants to go to school. That is her dream school. That's where she wants to go. And if we can make that happen, we're going to make that happen. In order to get into Vanderbilt, you have to have a really high ACT score.
That's right.
You have to have if last year proved anything, is that virtual learning does not work. So, and parents don't have time to be the teacher at home, and there was a whole lot of that. I learned how to do geometry all over again. I did not enjoy that. I went through it once. I don't think I should have to go through it again. So in-person school for our kids.
Does it look like rain behind me?
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so in-person school for kids is number one, the most important thing. Number one, that's the most important thing for me. And here's the part I don't understand. Let's start here. People are losing their minds. Like we're going to go out and start fighting our neighbors over this mask thing.
Right.
And I don't understand that. It again comes down to, hey, you're going to have to follow the rules whether you like it or not. I mean, we had some kids in Belfry that said, I'm not wearing a mask, and they put them out of the school. So you're going to have to wear that mask no matter what. So, Don, let's start with you. mask mandates? Like, what do you think? And people losing their minds.
I think, I hate, again, let me take time. I'm going to praise God, how he made me, and thankful for my teachers and my professors and my husband and my life experiences. I don't need Governor Lee to tell me to do shit. I can read data. I can look at people dying. I can look at people smothering, and I can put 2 and 2 together by my little teeny tiny self. So we wouldn't need mandates if people would look at the things themselves and go, you know what, I'm going to do this. I hate that we have to do mandates. That's a lot of noise coming in on me. JD, is that you?
Okay. Maybe.
Sorry. All right, got it. Anyway, I hate that we have to get to mandates. I really do. I hate that. And I understand people getting worried and being worried about their rights being chipped away. Honey, I'm with you 100%, but not when it comes to public health. Look at your kids. If you don't have kids, look at your grandkids. Look at the anxiousness in the teachers and in the parents. Look at what's going on in our society. What is a big deal? Put a mask on and give the children a chance. Right now, adults have effed this up royally. And I would trust Bill Cosby to give me a drink more than I would give more than I would trust the CDC. I promise you. But I trust my local doctors. I trust my husband. I trust my nursing friends. Look at Jamie on here. Jamie's been a nurse for probably almost 30 years, 20 years. We'll say 20 because we don't want to show our age, girl. But anyway, she's been in healthcare as long as I've been in. I trust them when they say that we have a problem, whether it's COVID or whether it's everybody got the shits. We all need to work together to slow it down so these kids have a chance at school. I can't believe how people are all about, let's just to hell with the kids. They get sick, who cares? We're just going to let it rip. You guys think you got it bad in Kentucky. Tennessee's really kicking up a storm down here. I mean, we've made worldwide news.
Well, JD, let me go ahead. I'm sorry, Dawn, but
sorry.
JD, I want JD to weigh in here. As far as, we're kind of talking out, like the thing with the schools and even the masks and the vaccine itself is the data doesn't necessarily suggest that these kids are at high risk. We had a homecoming dance, when JD and I are on the board of the community center. And that was when COVID was going on. Kids wore their masks in, but they didn't wear those masks. They were around each other. They were dancing. They were carrying on.
What are you doing to us, bro? What are you doing to us right now?
That was a year ago. But the thing is,
limitations.
Well, but no, here's the thing. People were saying that we were going to create a super spreader event.
Yeah.
Nothing happened because those kids were at low risk for any of that. And I don't know if Don's telling me that Delta is worse and that we need to look at that. But JD, what do you think as far as that age group? I don't see the science yet, and maybe it's out there, and you guys can share that with me. I don't see the science. Yeah,
it's just now coming. Delta's brand new to us. We don't have a year's worth of data like we did for COVID-19.
So let me start off by saying, thank God for our in-school teachers, man. Really, seriously, props to them. I think sometimes we forget how valuable people are in our lives, in our children's lives, until we lose them for a year. And man, last year, my kids, Haley definitely struggled. Haley's don't have the strong will when it comes to her studies to get on that computer and make sure she gets her lessons done every day. And so, I'm getting texts from teachers, and I have to get on Haley's hind end. Hey, go get your work done. But you can't replace the in-person teacher. You just cannot do it. A computer can't do it. A program on a computer can't do it. So I want my kids in school with an in-person teacher instructing them. As far as the mask, man, I'm going to be the first to tell you, I didn't wear mine as much as I should have. And they are aggravating as hell. I hate wearing them. But if that's what I got to do to protect my neighbor and to protect my mom and keep these restaurants open and these schools open, by God, I'm going to mask up. That's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. As far as the age group goes, I guess I'm like Don says, we don't have the numbers. We're just now coming in with this Delta variant. I thought we did a pretty good job, man, with the dance, honestly. Their kids, they're going to pull their mask down and shit like that. But for a lot of them, pretty well did a good job. I wear my mask all night. And, like I said, hopefully we can get this. The thing is, if we start now and wash our hands and social distance, wear our masks, get our vaccines, maybe we don't have to do this for much longer. Maybe we can get out of this fucking thing. But we need everybody to get on board to do it. And everybody's like, oh, it's supposed to be a 2-week lockdown. Yeah, but nobody did what the fuck they were supposed to do. Nobody did.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, as far as, I guess, the question is this, and it's something Todd said up here. I wanted to respond to that because I think he was, I don't disagree with him. It says, where does one person's individual stop and mine start? And I think that's a great point. But I think that goes both ways. Mm-hmm. As far as it goes both ways. And a lot of people feel like we're only worried about the people that are unvaccinated or are vaccine hesitant are feeling like the only person's rights that matter are the people that are vaccinated. Wow. And that goes both ways because I know, like I said, I'm not an idiot. And I just want to be careful with what I do. And I don't want to feel like I'm looked down upon because I am hesitant, because I'm trying to look at the data. I'm trying to make a good decision that I think is good for me and my family. And I think that goes both ways. So that was my response to that. Now, this is good information to know. I mean, Todd is a doctor. The Delta variant is higher risk than the original Alpha, and Delta has 1,000 higher viral load.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you, Jimmy Don. And I want to make it clear, this is not the unvaccinated's fault. They'll never be able to sell that on me. This is the fault of us taking on these vaccines and not sharing it with third world countries, and they didn't have a chance at having the vaccines. And we do have some treatments out there that are questionable. Do I think Delta is going to wipe out the kids? I do not think Delta is going to wipe out the kids. I think that when it comes to the kids getting vaccines and having to wear masks and things like that, it's about morals. It's about teaching our kids that what we need to do for a community as a whole. We live about 6 miles from a children's hospital, and they've got a huge oncology wing, huge. I see sick kids all the time. You could put me in a mask at flu season. I don't need a pandemic. I would wear a mask at flu season if it meant that this little 8-year-old that I know is going to have a better chance at not getting sick and dying of the flu. But that's where I am. It's not about freedom or anything like that to me. I don't blame the vaccinated people or unvaccinated people. I blame the government for sending out crazy information, then retracting crazy information, and then politicizing it on both sides. That's who I blame.
Well, let's go and let's kind of talk about that as far as something JD said. Do we think that this is going to go away? A lot of the things that I read is that it's viral and that it will ultimately become like the flu, where we're going to have a vaccine for this every year, with some kind of strain, or they guess what the strain is, and then you take a shot. And if you want to get a vaccination for the flu, you can. If you don't, whatever. Do we think that we can vaccine ourselves out of this? Do we think that this is going to be around forever, and we just got to learn how to live with it?
It seems to be the way it's trending.
Yeah.
It seems to be the way it's going to go. Is that this thing's going to continue to mutate faster than we can never get ahead of it. Don't look like.
Yeah.
So we have to. That's why it's even more important that we pull together and do things collectively. In my opinion.
I think that viruses are going to virus, but with this particular virus, and this is where I'm going to throw my hat in the ring, this virus is different. I don't trust it. It came from China, whether we like it or not, and there's a reason why it is mutating and becoming more transmissible. It's really smart, and I don't get that. We've already got Lambda, we've got Gamma, we've got all these other variants that we're watching. We've got boosters having to come out the yin-yang. I don't know how I feel about people constantly being boosted. I'm afraid, you guys, that we're going to get into a situation to where we may already be too far behind the 8 ball. It may just be one of those let it rip moments, and whoever can survive, survives. And I think that's a sad state. And I don't think we would have gotten there as quickly if we would have worked together and not worried about if JD's liberal or if I'm libertarian and conservative. If we'd have worked together as a whole and tried to slow it down a little bit, I don't think we would have gotten here so fast. But we even have pockets of healthcare providers, and I'm not slamming them. They have every reason to be confused, just like anybody else, that are anti-vaccine. And I'm totally get what they're saying, because our immune systems can handle COVID for the most part. You have to make a decision. For 99% of the time, you're going to survive COVID. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how sick you're going to be. I don't know if you go home and you give it to your 15-year-old daughter, if she will survive it. That's where the vaccines come in. It depends on what kind of risk you want to take, because this shit's crazy. One person might have the sniffles. One person might just be sore and have body aches. And then the next person literally fights it for weeks and they get put on a ventilator. It's wild. I don't know if we're going to vaccinate our way out of it. So I think, and I'll sum up because Lord knows I'm a talker. I'm the only girl on the show. I think that people better get used to masking and mitigating. It's not going away for at least probably maybe years, maybe 2 or 3 more years.
Hey, JD, I know our girls anyway, I think they really didn't mind wearing the mask so much, but we didn't really give them a choice either. Amy and I didn't really give them a choice. It was like, this is the rules. We are rule followers, okay? Like if it is, if this is the rule, this is what we're going to do. I think really the mask part didn't bother them so bad. I think it was the fact that they weren't allowed to really talk to each other. They weren't, they would go to lunch.
That did not stop either one of our girls. I can tell you right.
No. Well, they would, when they were at school though, they couldn't sit next to each other in the gym. They had them spaced out all over the school. When you would go to lunch, they couldn't behave normally. Right. And the only thing, it was not just the mask, it was everything else that went with it. Mm-hmm. Do you think if we mask them up and we just let them go ahead and do the rest of the stuff the way that they normally do at school, that they will ultimately be okay with it?
I mean, they would feel much better about it, but the problem is, man, with the mask, it's just like the vaccine. By itself, it's not going to be enough. Without the social distancing and the washing of hands, the mask ain't going to be enough. Especially, a cloth mask, which, we've talked about here before. It's just not going to be enough. I mean, yeah, I can tell you right now, Haley'd rather be talking.
Don, what do you think about that? I mean, as far as, there's a lot. I mean, we were all in school, right? I mean, and there's a lot to the social aspect of school and a lot to their happiness. Their social life is very, very important to them right now when they're that age. What do you think about that as far as, okay, let's mask them up. If they're not vaccinated, the data there says that maybe, that's not necessary, but let's mask them up and send them in. But let's try to make it as normal as we can outside of the mask.
I think that my kids being alive and healthy is more important than their social life. Mm-hmm. So how I look at it is, and I also teach my kids, remember, we're Christian. And we believe that we should do everything we could or can to help our neighbor. So if I have data that says that a mask will help, now keep in mind, I'm not going to wade into the mask debate. We already know that there are certain masks that work and that there other ones don't. Y'all know that. Research it yourselves. So I'm not going to wade into that. But if they tell me that masking can slow a virus that jumps to 7 and 9 people down to maybe 4 to 6 people, my kids are going to be told that. And they're going to choose to wear their mask on their own. And it's not going to affect their social life. They all talk like I talk. So we're going to talk through we're going to talk anyway.
Well, I mean, the other thing too, and JD can speak to this too, because our kids run around together all the time, is they're in each other's face constantly, have been all summer. Mm-hmm. They're at each other's houses, spending the night. It's, that's the other thing where, that's the part, I'm looking at common sense, right? I'm saying, okay, the data doesn't necessarily suggest that they're not at that higher risk.
That's right.
And they live in, look, JD's daughter lives at my house. My daughter lives at his. It's, they're together constantly. And I don't know. I'm still iffy on the whole mask mandate at school and the vaccination for the kids themselves. I'm still iffy on that, if I'm being 100% honest.
So I think, man, we might be smarter if we went about this way differently and maybe said, okay, these 20 groups of girls, you're going to go to every class together. You don't have to social distance, but you're going to be this is who you're going to be with all the time. And we may be better served with a situation like that. I don't know if that's even feasible. I don't even know if it's even feasible, but. I remember in elementary school we didn't switch classes. A lot of times the teachers would switch classes.
JD, look at this. Hold on. Can you see that? Don't you have idea who she takes all that talking from?
I don't know if she takes that language talk, Betty Joe. You want to clean her mouth? That was so.
And Caleb, and look, JD Dameron will tell you 100% that it is really hard for me to not go in that direction.
Oh, I'm already there.
No, I'm sort of a conspiracist. I almost think it's warfare. No way this virus is that smart. Like you have no idea how hard it is for me not to go that direction because I honestly feel like that.
Yeah, see, I'll admit it. I'm already got two legs over there. I'm almost full body. Did you see where the one of the WHO doctors went and testified before and said we need to look into the lab again? So I don't know. I've never seen a virus act this way. Back to mask. You know, to me, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got a Democrat governor, but you have a Republican legislative body. They should bounce off of each other, and that should checks and balance everything. So you have a mask mandate for school. I know people in Tennessee who would love to have that, but boy, I know plenty more that would rather burn the schools down. And it's because we don't have data yet. Hopefully, we will never get data on Delta that suggests that kids 18 and under need a vaccine or a mask. And I honestly pray for that. But in the meantime, it's probably better to err on the side of caution. Let your middle schoolers and your high schoolers wear their masks. You're killing me, JD.
Well, my ride's showing up. I'm about ready to go to Martin County. So.
Okay.
Well, do you want to try to keep going with us while you're riding, or do you want to?
I mean, yeah, I don't care.
Just get in the car and get out of the wind.
Yeah, we're about 52 minutes anyway, so let's. Yeah. And that's the other thing. That's a great point, Samantha. Actually, it doesn't matter what our governor now says. The State Board of Education made a mask mandate, and that supersedes what the governor does, and so it is what it is at this point until they meet again. And they did it for an entire school year, which means it can go the entire school year. But honestly, it doesn't matter. Now, these are Governor Beshear appointees. But at the same time, I'm not one of those people that think Governor Beshear's a tyrant for wanting to do a mask mandate. I'm just not. Look, I will say this about Andy Beshear. He's a Democrat in a Republican state, and he is making decisions that will 100% get him beat in the next election. But he's making those decisions anyway. And we all know politicians, their job is to get reelected, and that's what they do. And he is 100% making decisions that will get him he'll get him beat next time, and he's doing it anyway. And so that actually means something to me. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not necessarily an Andy Beshear fan in a lot of ways. And then the other thing, too, and I think JD will agree with this, is, Don and I both like DeSantis, right, down in Florida. I like DeSantis. Mm-hmm. But DeSantis, if you don't like the fact that you don't think Beshear has the right to tell the schools in Kentucky that they can't make kids mask up, then you shouldn't believe that DeSantis has the right in Florida to tell the schools there that they can't mask.
That's right. I do think parents should have the choice. I do think they should have a choice. I just think that if you've got middle schoolers and high schoolers, that you're better off talking to your kids about what's happening. They're at the age where they need to know what is happening in the community. And if you tell them the truth, they're going to want to wear a mask, and it's going to be fine. So I don't know why we've got preachers and everybody, freaking everybody out. I really don't get it. Look at your hospitals and consider your neighbor.
I agree. All right, so let's jump over to another topic, really the hot topic of the week, and we'll kind of end the show with this one. And that's with what's going on. It's DeSantis, not DeSantos.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Dan Dillon. Look, I'm hillbilly. I say things the way I want to say them.
He's a step-down, bro, so he's definitely hillbilly.
Yeah. I say how I want to say it. But anyway, all right, so Afghanistan has been a really, really big topic this week. And, Biden has, decided to pull troops out, and immediately, the Taliban have come in and are wreaking havoc. The Afghan army is not standing up. They were supposed to be trained by us, but the second that we pull away, boom, there you go. Don, where are you at on that? Like, what's your thought process on this whole thing that's going on in Afghanistan? Is this completely Biden's fault?
Can I defer to JD first?
Of course, yeah. JD, what do you think about it?
I think this has been an absolute debacle from the very beginning. I think when we headed over to Afghanistan in 2001, we didn't have a plan. When we left in 2021, we still didn't have one.
No plan. Yep.
And there's plenty of blame to go around from George Bush to Barack Obama to Donald Trump to Joe Biden.
I agree.
But at some point, guys, we've got to get out of there, though.
I agree with that too.
Point, we do got to get out of there. What sucks is the humanitarian problem we have with the way women and girls are going to be treated once we leave there. That's my biggest concern.
And they're killing everybody. The Taliban's just coming through killing people. I mean, they're killing women, children, men. It doesn't matter. They're killing everybody.
I've got to go on that point, guys. I love you.
All right, brother.
Love you. Women always pay the highest price, it seems like, Jimmy Don. When it comes to Afghanistan, it's preposterous to try to blame it on anybody but President Biden. He's the one that made the decision. He's the one that's in charge, and he's the one that drew up and approved the withdrawal plans. We had 2,500 soldiers over in Afghanistan. Now we have sent 5,000 over because it is such a cluster F. That's more soldiers by double than what we had. And when everybody says we have to pull out, no. When you go in and you destroy a country and you set up and you completely wipe everybody's asses out, you have an obligation to sit over there until they figure it out. Now, with this particular part of the world, you're never going to settle them down. It's the Middle East. They're crazy religious, similar to some of the religion that we see over here. They're crazy religious. They do their own thing. They're completely out of there. If everybody is all about every time we go in and we have a war, then we need to completely pull out, then I need somebody to explain to me why we're still sitting up in South Korea. We've got 25,000 active soldiers over there. We've been there since 1953. Nobody says anything. But when it comes to Afghanistan and the Middle East, when we pulled out our soldiers, the United Nations pulled theirs, Britain pulled theirs, and it was a domino effect. And before you know it, the Afghani men, I don't know what the hell's wrong with them. They just took off. Their women are getting raped. Their daughters are getting raped. They're getting married, forced marriage to these fighters and being passed through entire groups of men. And where is the left? If this happened under Trump, it would never leave the television screens. You would have people marching. They'd be freaking the hell out. But because it's Biden, hardly anybody's saying anything. And that's crazy.
Now I'll push back a little bit. And here's how I'll push back. Because we've been over there for 20 years. And we were supposed to be training up their military and training up them so that we could leave and that they could. Now, the other thing I think with those other places, and maybe I could be completely off base about this, but this is just what I think, is that a lot of these other countries like Germany, Korea, England, places like that, they want us there. We have bases there. They want us there. In the Middle East, they don't want us there. They never have. They never will. And why stay there? Because our troops still at times are in harm's way over there because they're so crazy. And you've got all these different factions. That would be like my thought. I could be completely wrong about that, just FYI, but I mean, that would be my thought. Now, I agree with you 100%. I mean, the president took off, the army took off, and left their women and children there to fend for themselves. That's awful. So now we're going to have to go back. Like, I don't think we should have went there to begin with.
We shouldn't have. We shouldn't have. And we shouldn't have invaded Iraq either, but we did. And then the way they pulled out is where I'm not going to agree. I'm not saying that we need to stay there forever. I'm saying we have an obligation when we go in and destroy a country. We are obligated to make sure that we do everything we can to set them up a government before we leave. We left like a one-night stand leaves an ugly girl after the night. And that is not how you do it. You don't leave like that. And everybody can come up with Trump, Obama, and Bush, whatever they want to do. When it comes down to it, President Biden's the one that approved these withdrawal plans. They suck. It's a big black eye on his administration. People need to be uproared. They need to be mad. These are women and children getting raped by grown men, 8-year-olds getting married and raped by grown men. And nobody is yelling enough. But boy, we'll fight over masks, but we ain't going to fight over 8-year-olds being abandoned. We abandoned them.
Yeah, and I think Todd's point is, this is a good point, actually. 12-year-old girls being married off of 6-year-old men want us there. Yeah, I mean, and there's definitely some truth there. And like I said, and I agree with you on the left, they, like, I just never thought we should have went. Like, so I always thought we should leave, and I thought we were there to protect oil and all those things. And I just never have agreed with being there in the first place. So getting out of there was something I always kind of agreed with. But I think that's what the points that you're making, the point that Todd made there, are valid points.
Right. And well, remember, Todd was in the Navy during this time.
Yeah.
So what happens to them? What happens to him? What happens to our military men and women that died on that soil? We just up and decide that, oh, hell, we're done playing this game. I'm going to take only some of my toys and go home. Because remember, we left. They have guns. They have trucks. They have all kinds of our IT equipment. We left in the middle of the night. I mean,
that's
seriously.
Crazy. No, I mean, how does the way Biden exited was crazy. Yeah, no, Biden, the way he exited was crazy. Like, it could have been done in such a better way. And I think he deserved it. Now, I actually did see this morning, because I'm one of those guys that will flip around to the different newscasts, especially when we're doing the podcast, because I want to see, A, what the topics are, but B, what's everybody saying. And Biden was getting roasted on CNN, on NBC, on MSNBC. Like, they were actually roasting Biden over this. And it's the first time I've seen it. Since he's been president.
Don't let that fool you, Jimmy. All they'll do is just play with his little hair a little bit. If that was Trump, they'd be having that Kathy Griffin thing up. Yeah, I want that level. I want that level of scrutiny. I want equality across the board, because this one is one that we actually have. We can run with this. Biden approved it. Biden did it. Yes, Trump wanted to do it. Yes, Trump had an agreement. But you know who else had an agreement? Obama set up an agreement with Iran about the nuclear deal. As soon as Trump took president, he is like, F that agreement. It's out. I'm your boy now. Forget it. Biden didn't have to see through that agreement. So don't let him fishtail you and say this is Trump's fault. This is nobody's fault but Biden. Just like the Delta variant and COVID is nobody's fault but the bunch of communists sitting over in China waiting for everybody to fall. And I don't trust them effers either. I went on a rant.
Love it. And that's where we're going to end this one. Dawn's rant. I love it.
Dawn's rant.
Makes me so happy. No, I love it. No, I really enjoyed today. I thought that was a good discussion about, all things COVID. And I mean, like I said, I think what JD said, and I think you said it too, is just to kind of summarize is, look, we need to come together. This is not a political issue per se. This is a public health crisis. And I think that Delta is a completely different animal than what the original strain was that we dealt with. I think it's a completely different animal. So I think we've got to start looking at it a different way. And I just encourage everybody to do that for themselves. I believe in the choice to do what you want to do. But I think the choice with the information that we now have is starting to become a little more clear. At least it is for me anyway, on what I need to do for me and my family. So, guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. We had a huge crowd on here tonight, Dawn. A lot of great comments.
Yay, we love everybody.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys coming and spending a little bit of time with us here on this Sunday evening. Dawn has been...
Yeah, everybody do what you can. We're not saying you need to vaccinate or you need to do this. Just do what you can to help us, please.
Yep, and absolutely. So, but guys, you know where you can find us. And if you don't, I'm getting ready to tell you, you can find us on every social media platform, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're everywhere. Everywhere that you can, locate, we're putting stuff out. Don and JD are putting out awesome posts every week right now. We're getting a ton of an engagement from that. And then the podcast itself comes out on Podbean. That's where I launch it from. But you can pick it up on iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, anywhere iHeart, wherever you can find podcasts, you can find the Just Add Bourbon podcast. So, guys, we appreciate you. And as we always end our show, from myself, from JD, and from Don, no matter how bad your week's been and no matter how bad your day's going, if you just add bourbon, it always gets a little bit better. We'll see you guys next week.